Welcome to the City Lifestyle Podcast, Vegas edition, where we're covering the people, the places, and the events that make up our community. We're glad you're here. Welcome to Sit Downs with City Lifestyle, Vegas edition. My name's Chrissy Bound, owner of Henderson City Lifestyle, and I'm here with my neighbor,
Chad Jeffrey from South Vegas City Lifestyle, and today I meet the partners. We have
Andrea Duran with American Family Insurance.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're excited to have you here.
So tell us a little bit about you.
So I am an insurance agent here in the southwest area of Las Vegas. I cover all areas, but of course my office is in the southwest area. So obviously I've met you through the South City Lifestyle magazine. I also am born and raised in Las Vegas.
A native.
Yes.
I feel like it's so rare to meet somebody who's
I don't
actually
think
born
we've
and
had one
raised
on
here
yet,
now.
yeah.
No?
No.
My mom was born and raised in Vegas. We can bring her
Wow.
on next time.
It's a legacy.
Let's feed her in right now.
I know,
We
right?
got a
FaceTime her.
boomer
Yeah.
in Vegas. So I was born and raised here. I have 10 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
Huge family. My parents had a restaurant here in town for a long time. My grandparents had a restaurant from 1969 down on Fremont Street.
Oh my
back in the
gosh.
day. So I've had some fun times in Vegas.
That's amazing. I can only imagine the things that your family has seen with the city's growth over, even in the 20 years that I've been here, it looks totally different than it did when I first got here.
Yes.
So I can only imagine what they've seen being here since the 60s. That's amazing.
And there was no Summerlin. There was
there's no Henderson.
There was no
no
Southern Highlands. None of that stuff. So
It's
we didn't even have the
crazy.
215 growing up here.
Oh my God, I
That's
remember when
insane.
I first moved here, the 215 wasn't finished yet. And so there was a stoplight
Yeah.
at every single exit. So when I was at UNLV, if somebody said they lived in Summerlin, it's like, Summerlin, oh my God. Because it would take you an hour and 15 minutes to get there because you had to stop at every single exit. This is before your time here, Chad. But it was,
I mean, I've been here 6 years.
yeah.
A lot has happened in that time frame.
Well, the
Yes.
irony now is that it will still take you an hour and 15 minutes to get from UNLV to Summerlin,
Yeah.
but just because of traffic these days. So anyway.
Lucky us, but with that traffic, we all need insurance.
Yes, we do. We
Right?
do. Absolutely.
And that's why, as you see with the traffic going on and the rates, unfortunately, in Vegas is top 5 in the nation, or even more so than Reno or anywhere, because of all the accidents and all the people on the road. And there's a lot of transplants, obviously, as you guys know. Everybody moves here from somewhere else. Typically, it's not a lot of natives, and if they are, it's just different. Like fortunately, I've worked on the Strip. I've been in a lot of different dynamics, so I've seen not just Vegas in the suburb life, but also the Strip, and working on that as well. So I think there's great changes. I love that all these sports teams are here, and I'm glad that there's people moving. I just wish there was less traffic, for sure.
Absolutely. So how did you get into the insurance realm then?
So I moved shortly to Miami. I was living not bi-coastal because Vegas is not a coast, but
Basically.
We're close.
Yeah,
It's
we're
3
close
hours.
enough.
Yeah.
So I was living in Las Vegas. I lived in Panorama Towers on the Strip for a while while I was working in nightlife. So I met somebody. He wanted to move to Florida, and I said, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
So I left my last job as director of marketing in a nightlife capacity, and I came to Miami, and we were kind of doing this back and forth for 4 years. During COVID, this all kind of changed. We broke up, and I came back to Vegas, and I just kind of thought about it. And I'm like, what do I want to do that's going to be referral based? Obviously, you can build, with that being said, clients, all the different dynamics of just people that I've met over the years. I didn't want to do real estate. Everyone's like, you're a realtor, you could be a realtor. And not saying I love real estate agents. I didn't want to do that. So insurance is definitely probably more boring. I know it's not fancy and glamorous and what I was used to in other aspects, but I also felt it's some way to build residual income as well. And you're protecting people, there's protecting assets. There's other things that you learn in the industry, and there's so many facets. It's not just one thing. It's huge. I mean, I do life insurance as well. I go to seminars, meetings. I try to keep updated. There's so many ways of even tax purposes and, just different things that people aren't educated on. So it's interesting to me, and
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, did you notice a big change like in what people were looking for, particularly with life insurance after the pandemic?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've also noticed because I started during the pandemic, more people are asking about life insurance. And I think TikTok and all these other, different social media outlets, reels. People talk about things now because life insurance before people thought, oh God, I'm not going to think about that until I'm 50. But by the time you're 50, your premium's high.
So
you
much
might have
higher.
had something happen. You might not get qualified. It's just a whole different,
It's a
ball
whole
game.
different animal.
Yeah.
I know that's when my husband and I got life insurance during the pandemic. And then now he jokes because when we were walking out afterwards, he was like, great, now we have this big policy. It's like, but, at the same point in time, it's like, that's when you're young, it's the best time because you're the healthiest you're ever going to be most likely. And your rate's going to be the lowest it's ever going to be. So,
and even if you get a term versus a permanent policy, that just holds you over till your time to retire. And even if with that being said, it's a small amount, but at least you have coverage for if something, and I mean, obviously no one wants to think like that, but things happen in life. So for me, I understand, all aspects of it, but I also think the younger you are, just the better. You can have it on your kids. I mean, it's changed, everything's changed so much.
That's an interesting thing. So, do you find that adults are starting to get policies for their kids because it's really cheap if you get it when they're teens or whatever, and then they can take that over.
Convert it.
Yeah.
And it also can build a savings account.
Yep.
So a lot of times people will do that for their children, so not for their death benefit, but of course for the living benefits. And there are living benefits to a lot of policies now.
So really quick, mine are 6 and 8. Lay it on me. You got 2 kids? Let's do a quick educational seminar
funny.
here.
I don't think this was one of your questions. Okay?
No, it wasn't, but it's a good topic.
I mean, we have juvenile policies, which basically means by the time, so you start them, say 6 years old, it's very low premium, but you put a little bit more because it's a savings account. Then they can convert it to a whole life policy. You can also add a children's rider to your own policy, which gives them $25,000 to convert when they're 18. The best thing about the juvenile is there's a savings account attached to it, so then they can use that for what it's progressed to by the time they're 18, and then convert it to something else. So there's different aspects. I mean, I didn't do my full presentation for you, but
it's
But
an amazing.
it's important to know.
It's a great gift.
Yeah.
My mom got me one when I was, I think it was 13 or 14, and she said, "Don't ever let this lapse." And of course, flipped it over to me when I turned 18. When I was 18, I was like, "Man, I got to pay this, a couple $100 premium a year or whatever." And now I'm like, "That was an amazing gift. It's something that I'll have forever." And
do you have any savings account attached to it? Okay.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things where it's like, I was 13 and she took me into the office with her and was explaining it to me. And I'm 13 years old. I'm like,
what's
this is boring. Like, I want to go back and at the time go back on AIM,
My instant
Don't date yourself.
My AOL instant messenger, find out what's going on. Who's going to the movies tonight? But now as an adult, I'm like, that was an amazing gift. So Mom, if you're watching this, which you probably are, thank you.
She was a smart business lady, or smart.
She was.
Yes, you can tell, but just for her, because my mom would have never done something like that for me.
Yeah. So
we've talked a little bit about life. Like, let's talk about all the other lines you do.
Okay.
So home and auto.
So home and auto, which is obviously anyone that's starting off in this industry, would be the bread and butter because it's easy. Everybody needs, if you have a home, renter's insurance or homeowner's insurance, condo insurance, and if you have renters would be just, it's easy. And those policies are very minimal. Auto, that's depending on state liability limits are $25.50 here. So that's full coverage technically, but we offer all different liability limits. We have umbrella policies. We have business workers' comp, so liability, like GL, which would be general liability. Then we also have BOPs, which are business owner policies, which cover a little bit more of like your business personal property. And then we also have, we have brokerage with our company as well. So we can't cover you. We have Progressive for commercial auto. We have other companies we work with, which is great because they tie in to the whole aspect. Because not everyone company insures all risks. So you kind of have to, and sometimes you can't insure the risk. So you refer to somebody that can, or, there's partnerships that way as well.
Yeah.
So walk us through, obviously we're not like in front of your computer and that kind of stuff, but we walk in, like Chrissy and I, we're small business owners. I drive all over the city like crazy. Like, how do those things impact someone's individual policy? Like, what questions do you tend to ask to figure out like exactly what coverage they need?
the typical person isn't walking in saying that they drive around like crazy. So they're lying.
I am very 2 hands, 10 involved. I drive a lot
funny.
of miles.
10
Clarify.
and 2.
10 and
12
2.
We might be wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, whatever.
It's so funny.
Depends what day it is. I'll figure it out.
Yes. So, I mean, typically I get phone calls and emails. The majority, most people are now using their mobile devices for everything. I do know it's something to be said about having an agent because it's there. I mean, we have Geico's, we have Progressives, we have, Liberty Mutuals. There's not agents technically with most of them. There's like a small Geico office maybe somewhere, but it's not the same as having. So some people, old school, they like coming into the office. 50 plus, I would say. They are more inclined to come in and meet with you, even if they speak to you over the phone. I have clients that, I want to meet you first. I want to know you're real. But there's also a lot of agents, and even in other markets, where they do almost everything virtually. And I'm like, how do you guys get to do that? Because I have clients that want to meet me.
Yeah.
And if you don't even have an office, because Goosehead, you don't have to have an office. They'll service for you. So what I have them do is usually I get contacted via email or through like some sort of avenue on the internet or phone call. And I have an office manager who answers my phone 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So they want to speak to me directly. Of course, I'll take the call. I'll do all so it's basics. You need home, your name, address, date of birth is how we start it. And then you kind of just go over, I have checklists, but I'm pretty good. Everything's on the internet in our software now. And it's very protected, of course. We have a CRM platform. We're actually moving over to Salesforce, which is going to be a big transition from the current old school one they have, which is called Apex. But so we're doing trainings on that. And so they come in, if they want to come in after I do the quote, or they come in, we meet, they show me what they have currently.
Yeah.
Because most people like you probably already have a policy. So, okay, here's what I have currently. If not, if it's a new business, depending on how long they've been in business, have they had a policy in the past? Most of the time, smaller businesses get like just a general liability if they don't have a brick and mortar spot.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to have business personal property. You don't have to. This is up to you. Your coverage on even your speakers and your microphones and all the, that's
Gear,
depending on, he could have a policy on himself too. So depending on how you, leverage it.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's, it's one of those things when you buy insurance, it's one of the things that you need. You hope you're never going to have to use it. But at the same point, if something happens, having that personal touch and knowing who you're going to be talking to, and you're with people during some of their toughest situations in their life, So I think having that one-on-one, face-to-face contact that you actually know is helpful in that situation.
Yes.
So I did hear a little rumor. I don't know if this is true, but word on the street is that in regards to auto, it's actually a little bit cheaper to have auto insurance in Henderson than it is in Las Vegas. Is that true?
It depends on the zip code.
Ah.
So there is a difference. So each insurance carrier only wants to really have 20% of the market because then they're not making money.
Yeah.
So that's why if there's a concentrated area of like people with farmers or any company, it's going to be a little bit higher.
Okay.
But then if you move zip codes, I've seen the policies change.
Okay.
So not just Henderson, but Las Vegas. But I'm sure I have some, but I have my big bulks more Las Vegas probably area. So
Just curious.
Interesting.
it is
Just
true.
curious.
If you move, you can see your zip code. Like I moved from Aliante area because I was there for a short time to Summerlin. It was probably $10 to $20 cheaper a month. I mean, that's the zip code that I moved to. So
Interesting.
yeah.
What do you think is the biggest gap people have right now in their insurance?
I think mostly for like small business owners, especially, this is the thing. If you have an LLC, great, you have protection. But say you have a pool, not even business owners, just families. People come over, something happens. If you don't have an umbrella policy tied to your account or to your policy, umbrellas are nothing. People don't even know what personal umbrellas are. Like for $1 million of extra coverage, it's like maybe $500 a year typically. So $500 a year to cover extra $1 million if something happens whatsoever. Maid falls and slips. Somebody, any contractor that comes in that something happens. Regardless, you're covered. Kids fall, something happen, anything, pool situation. And I think the majority of clients and people, because our houses now are all worth at least $500 to $1 million. So you can do the coverage on your homeowner's policy, but even just the extra liability, it's so minimal. People just aren't educated enough about it. And you can do commercial umbrellas as well.
See, I have an umbrella, but I still don't let Chrissy come to my pool. Is that a
I'm
problem?
banned.
Is that a problem?
No.
Why
But
is that?
I don't know. I feel like I'm like the Kimmy Gibbler from Full House.
Plead the fifth.
I know.
So.
No. I feel like that this is why you need the expert, though, because these are things that regular business owners just wouldn't know. You know, I mean, obviously we work in the publishing business and we're in marketing for a long time, but I would never think about that, you know? And it's like, this is where that having that relationship is so important, where it's like you can get that advice for the things that you hope never happen, but might not think about.
Yeah.
And I also tell my clients, listen, you guys can call or text me if something, I'm always available typically. I don't have children. I don't have even animals at this point. So I pretty much am a freedom
I wouldn't tell people that you're available 24/7.
Not 24/7.
I can go backwards.
But you know what I
real
mean?
quick.
Like, if something needs, you have a question, you can text me. I'm not, going everywhere and saying, here's my phone number, here's my phone number.
Yeah.
But if they're a client of mine and we've gotten a personal relationship, of course.
Yep.
And also my office manager has a personal relationship with some of the clients. I was actually gifted a few clients because one of the agents left because she went to another industry. Her husband owns a plumbing business, so it was kind of the way they work is they don't sell the book; they'll actually gift it to agents.
Oh.
Well, that's nice.
So it was nice. So I had a little bit of a start, and she worked for that agent.
Okay.
So she has a personal relationship with some of the clients that I was gifted. So that gives you some renewal income. It also gives you a little bit of a head start.
Yeah.
To building your business, so you don't scratch. It's not a scratch agent.
Well, and from the client standpoint too, I think it's nice because it's like if you've worked with one person and now they're referring you to somebody else, then you're already going to feel a little bit more comfortable because it's somebody that you know versus just like looking up insurance companies and picking one out of how many. So I think that's great.
Yes.
So if there was one other piece of advice, obviously the umbrella policy is huge, but if there was one other piece of advice that you would give to our viewers or our listeners, what would it be?
I would say don't be afraid. I know it's not something fun. It's a need for most things, not a want. I do believe that most people feel, oh gosh, it's just insurance. But when you need it and you don't have it, that's when your life, all of it. It's just, that's the whole point. It's a need, not a want. So I do feel most people should look at their limits, make sure that they're covered, because $25.50, great. If you get an accident, that's $25,000 total. If someone sues you and they win, they can take away your house if it's not in a homestead relationship. You have more than one house. If you don't have your stuff, I think people need to set up trusts. Living trusts are very important. I don't do them yet. I may bring that into my avenue at some point. I can do annuities as well, but I do feel people need to have a living trust regardless and make sure that they're set with their families and for their future.
No. Do you think most people are set up that way right now, or is that a big opportunity?
No, I think it's a huge opportunity. I think people push it off and wait and wait and wait. Oh, I'm going to do that one day because they think it's people have gotten it down to a science. There's a lot of financial advisors, accountants, attorneys that you can refer to just have it set up where if something happens, it's in a trust where it's not this probate, all these, as you know, with COVID, people were dying, things were happening. It wasn't an expected thing. And that's one instance, but there's things that happen all the time. Yeah. And when families go to war, that's not fun either. And I've heard many stories. Yeah. People stop being brother and sister over family money. And so if you have the trust, those people, the parents or whoever set it up, they designate it that way. That's what they wanted. So.
Yeah, it's really good advice. And it doesn't take that long to set it up. To your point, it sounds daunting, but it doesn't take forever to set it up. I remember when we did ours, it was 2 meetings, and we got a book about this thick of all the stuff afterwards. I'm like, well, there it is. Put this away in the fireproof.
But you can DocuSign, you can e-sign. Like back, you couldn't you'd have to do wet signatures. So there's things, power of attorneys that you could easily, they can come to you now.
Yeah,
notaries.
Great.
So, I mean, yeah.
I think that's a huge piece of advice. That's great.
So how often should people reevaluate their coverage?
Our company likes to do a personal insurance review once a year.
Okay.
So about once a year is average. Also, you get to talk to your agent. You get to see what you're at now. Maybe what you were doing a year ago has changed. So maybe up the limits, lower the limits. I mean, it's not always pay more. It's also what you need in coverage for your lifestyle and your life.
So what is their process if they want to get a hold of you directly? Like, how do they go about doing that? How do they set up a quote, a time to talk
So,
with you?
I have the amfam.com website. My name, Andrea Duran, is on there, so you can search agents. I also have a website, AndreaDuranAgency.com, which is here on Google. I have a Google business page. That's Andrea Duran Agency, American Family Insurance. And then, of course, my phone number. I have an office. I have an email. So it's all listed on Google. And
you are accepting new clients?
of course.
Okay, just want to make sure.
I'm always
All
accepting
right.
new clients.
Good. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And I mean, is there anything else that you wanted that you'd like people to know about you?
I mean, this is my first podcast.
Well, you did great.
You did
Yeah,
great.
thank
You
Yeah.
did great. You did great. So, well, thank you again for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And we're glad you came and watched the podcast today. We'll see you next time.